I've gotten some questions about these journals I've been making, so wanted to show you a little bit about them. This first one is made from canvas that's been painted with acrylic paint. I actually used a jelly plate to kind of print on the canvas, which had been gessoed first. And I got this idea for this closure from Amanda Trout, if I'm pronouncing her name right, who had a YouTube video showing a similar journal she'd made. And so this, I'll show you, opens up like this. And I've just put 80-pound drawing paper inside. So the inside is just a piece of an old sheet that I had stamped, stenciled with some acrylic paint, and then painted the back side. And then I used, this was from a stamp I carved following a lesson from Claudette Hasenjager, and then another stamp I had carved for Carved December last year. So this stitching is what I call the Cosmic Star pattern, and I also did some cross stitching in another color. And then this extra piece of canvas was just stitched on using a sewing machine, and then this button stud screw was used to attach to the front, and then this little extra strip of fabric was stitched on before I bound the book, and then just cut a little hole in here, and that way it clips on there. And then I went on to make a couple of other similar books. These are from old vintage books. I used that same Cosmic Star binding, and then stitched together a piece of upholstery fabric with some lace and a little extra piece of leather that I had, and cut a hole in it, and then used this button stud closure, and then covered the inside with an end paper, just a piece of scrapbook paper, and then used handmade paper and coffee dyed paper for the inside. And then that button closer just closes like that. So that turned out pretty cute. And then this next one, I used a similar idea of this closure. So this is a piece of sari ribbon that I stitched over an extra strip of book cloth, and that way it gives it a little bit more structure because the sari ribbon is very thin and delicate by itself. Took an old book that I found in the recycling bin, which is just a beautiful cover, and then stitched using that same stitch in a different color, this Cosmic Star stitch, which is 3 signatures, stitching a straight stitch through the middle, and then a cross stitch through the first and third signatures. And then for the closure of this, I did, again, glue it to the inside back, and then put an end paper over it. And then for the front, I drilled 2 holes in the cover and used this extra strip of like a leather scrap that someone gave me, and used flat screws, screw posts to stitch through here. And the advantage of that and having this on both sides is that you can, if you're just closing the book, you can just slip this through here, and then have your closure. But if you want this strap to be out of your way when you're working on it, you can bring it around the back and then put it through here, and then open the book up and kind of tuck it under here on the inside. And that keeps the strap out of your way when you're writing or making art in your book. So I really like how that one turned out. And then this one was a little bit of an experiment. I started out with an old Huckleberry Finn book, which had this interesting kind of end paper, and I glued some old leather straps. Originally this was going to be the cover, but then in the end I didn't like it very much. So I flipped the book inside out, and I just painted and stenciled on the cover. I did sort of a version of this same stitch, although I made them quite a bit closer and used 2 different colors of thread. And then similar kind of closure where I glued in this, or actually, yeah, glued in this little strip of leather on one side, lace on the other. And then I filled this with junk papers, so old experiments and various kinds of papers, including ones that fold out that I'll art journal in at some point. And some old vintage paper, some experiments with eco-dyeing. And so this one, again, has this button screw. So it has two pieces, the screw on the back and the button on the front that you just screw through a hole. And then that closure goes like that. So I'm not sure how much I love it, but it's kind of an interesting experiment. And these came together all pretty quickly, and kind of happy with how they turned out. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments.